Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in the last video we tightened up the tailstock and the cross slide handles and all that stuff. If you haven't watched that one first, go ahead and watch it before you watch this one so you can kind of know what I'm talking about. Alrighty, so I got the cross slide off to try to adjust that little bit of slack or preload or whatever you call it out. And it doesn't look like there's going to be really any real adjustment. So it looks like I'm just going to have to learn how to work through it. I do plan on getting a DRO for the cross slide eventually, so that will help. But let me show you what it looks like taking apart. All right, so I got the cross slide off. There's the handle. And here's the lug that it threads into. And you can take it off. There's 2 screws on the back side. Or the top side rather. But right here is what it threads into. So your handle threads into this. And this is tight. It's not moving. So I'm assuming that little bit of play that we have, that little inconsistency rather, is just in the threads itself. It's just kind of moving a little bit. The handle moves a little bit before it catches the thread, I'm assuming, because this is tight. It's not moving. So while we got it apart, I'm gonna go ahead and clean everything up, oil it, and we'll get it put back together. I don't see anything that I can do here. Alrighty, so I got everything cleaned up, oiled, put back together, and while I was putting it together, it dawned on me that I didn't show you how I took it off. So I got it put back on, but I'm gonna just walk you through it real quick. It's pretty simple. Alright, so if you don't know how to take off the cross feed here, what I did was take your handle and run it all the way to the back. And once you get all the way back, you can feel the thread disengage with the lug. So then I loosened up these 3 screws. I didn't take them all the way out. I just loosened them up far enough until I could reach in here and slide out the Gibbs. I just went from the back and slid it out from the front. Remove these 2 bolts, take off the handle, and then this, you kind of got to tilt it up and to the side and it'll come off. You could take these 2 screws loose, which disconnects it from the screw. That's the lug that the crossfeed handle threads into. You could remove that and then just lift it straight up without removing the handle, but I just took off the 2 bolts to the handle and threaded it all the way out that way. So either way you want to do it, that's how you remove it. Just whenever you remove this Gibbs, just make sure you just got to slide it over, kind of tilt it and slide it a little bit to clear the bevels here. You don't want to damage those. But that's pretty much it. Now I got to put it all back together, just reverse order. I put it back on, slid my Gibbs in, tightened the screws up enough to hold the Gibbs in place. I had this all the way back, attached my handle, and then just turned it till it threaded itself on. And now I've got I just finished adjusting the Gibbs. It's a little tight. I may loosen them up a little bit, but it is a lot smoother than it was now that I've cleaned it and oiled it. It is pretty tight to move. But now that I got it's tight, I'm gonna put the dial indicator back on it and see if that play is gone. Maybe it was just a little loose in here somewhere or something, but let's try that real quick. Alright, so I got zeroed back out here, zeroed out here. We're gonna try it. You can see it's already up. Well, I think it's worse. Yeah, I went way further. Alright, so going in this direction, it's pretty instant. We'll get to 10,000. We're going to start going back the other way. Let's see if we can't zero this out so we can see how far. Alright, so zeroed out. Oh yeah, it's a lot worse. Yeah, it was 5 thousandths. Now we're up to Let's see. We'll get to the 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, that was me. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 before it starts moving. Alrighty. So yeah, whatever I did, I made it worse. Maybe it's maybe it's in the Gibbs screw adjustments, because that's really the only thing I changed. I don't know. Let me keep messing with it, see if I can't figure it out. Alrighty, I'm back. So yeah, it is most definitely in the Gibbs screw adjustments. I loosened them up, and it's really loose, but just for testing purposes. So I got it on 0 here, 0 on the dial, and I can start turning it, and it's got a little bit. Go 0 that way. We'll go to 5. Sorry, I got a glare. So I go to 5 here, and I turn it back the other way, and it instantly starts moving. I mean, it's a couple, thousandths off. We go back to 5 that way, and we turn it back, it instantly starts moving. And then it stays pretty much on 0. I mean, it's a tad off, but I mean, we're talking a thousandths. Not even. Nah, it's dead on. So yeah, let's go back this way. We'll go to 5, and then we're at about 5 thousandths. Let's go back to 5 the other way, and we're at about 3 thousandths. So it's about 2 thousandths off in that direction. Let's see if it goes back to 0. Yeah, it goes back to 0. So yeah, it's most definitely the Gibbs screws. I guess where the Gibbs are tighter, it takes more preload in the screw to turn it, to push it, so you're having to move the handle further. But the problem is now, is if you look, I mean, it's super loose. That's not going to work either. So, I mean, with it loose, it's accurate, but it's not going to work. So, I guess I'm just going to have to find a happy medium to where I can get the Gibbs tight enough to where this is close, but not too tight to where it throws this off. I guess the Gibbs on the when I adjust them this time are just a little bit tighter than last time. But yeah, you can see that that's not going to work. Alrighty, let's adjust on them again. Alrighty, so I got the Gibbs adjusted. They're not tight, but it's just tight enough to where there's no play in here. And we're going to try this thing out. So let's see if I can get this glare off the. There we go. So we'll go to 30 thousandths. Alrighty, 30 thousandths. So we're almost all the way back around. We're at the 1 dash behind the 0.5. We're going to go back the other direction. I cannot get that glare off this gauge. Go back the other direction, and we'll see how many hashes it moves before the needle starts moving. So about 2, 3. So now we're going to go back to 0, and we'll see how far off our 0 is. See, this is 0 on the gauge. It's off 3. So about 3 thousandths. And it's better than the 5 that we started with. So we go back to 0, and we're about 2.5. Yeah, 2.5 or 3. So let's go back the other way. I'm sorry this light is in this gauge so bad. I'm going to go back the other way. And it's pretty much on right there, 1 and 1. Let's go back to 10. Back to 0. And we're 3 off. Now we're back on. So, I guess what I need to do is whenever I make a pass, let's say I make a 10 thousandths cut. When I go back to 0, I need to go at least 5 back before I go to 3, because it should be back on 0. So make a 20 pass, and then I'll go back past 0 before I go back to 0, and then it centers itself out. Alrighty, so I think that's a fix. If I just have to remember, whenever I go make a cut, I got to go past the 0 and then go back to 0 before I make my next adjustment. I can live with that. You know, this is a rather inexpensive mini lathe, and I know it's not going to be perfect in every way, so I can live with that. I just got to learn what adjustments I need to make and when and where. But the handle itself is in millimeters, and the gauge I'm using is in inches, and so the interpretation is not all there. I'm gonna either have to convert all my projects to millimeters so I can use the dial or the handle, or I'm gonna have to just use a dial gauge all the time so I can make the right cuts, because it's going to be confusing trying to convert everything from, you know, millimeters on the dial in inches. You know, if I need to make a 20,000 pass, or, you know, if I got a overall diameter of 750 or 0.75 or whatever, trying to get to that on this handle is going to get confusing, I think. So we'll have to figure that out. Like I said before, I think in the last video, I do plan on getting a DRO for the cross slide at least. I don't know that I can get a DRO for everything, but for the cross slide and the tailstock, I would like to get a DRO for it. I'll probably do a homemade one for the DRO. You got a couple of plans or ideas for that. It's just a simple digital caliper, and then you make you a piece that wraps around the quill, and then you just bolt it to the top. It's pretty simple. So I plan on doing that too. The DRO would most definitely make everything easier, because you can go, you know, you set your 0 and you go back to 0, and then you make your adjustment. Alrighty, we'll keep this one short and sweet. I hope this helps you out. If you have any questions, leave me a comment, and I'll be glad to make you a video just for you explaining more about it. I know I did cut in and out a lot on some of the stuff. I completely forgot to show how to take it apart. But if you're trying to do this adjustment, you probably already know how. But thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.